Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nikolai here back again, and I am finally going to be reacting to TeamFourStar's final DBcember. Uh, they're doing this, um, or they did this based on the sagas. I already watched through the intro. They were looking for another person to help them with the, ranking and just basically just help them out with the whole video. They got Totally Not Mark to be their third person. They did specify that the sagas refers to the bigger bunch from like smaller arcs, as in like there's not gonna be a Android saga and then a Cell saga. It's all together in an Android saga. Yeah, I don't think they're not gonna include a GT. If I'm gonna predict what I think their top like four sagas are in no particular order, I see the Saiyan saga up there. Which tournament was it? The tournament where the Piccolo Junior arc is the one I'm thinking about. One of the tournament arcs, not the first one from Dragon Ball, either the second or the final one, where Krillin dies, and then probably the fourth one. It's a toss up between the Android saga and the Namek saga. I personally don't think they would rank the Boo saga way up there. Like, I'm gonna get so much hate for this, but the Boo saga is one of my least favorite of the sagas. I mean, it was cool, but it's like, I don't know, like so much going on with that. I would put my top, like one of my top sagas to be the Namek saga, also the Android saga, Piccolo Junior arc, and like the King Piccolo arc. Those are cool. The Red Ribbon arc is like very underrated. That was a nice arc. But anyway, let's see what they have in store for us. I'm probably not gonna watch the whole thing. I think I might do like 2 or 3 entries in this video. So yeah, without further ado, let's check it out.
12. Maybe last year should have been the last DBcember. Is it too late to back out now? We had this discussion. It went up to a vote. Now, I know this is going to be a point of controversy. When it comes to the available sagas in the Dragon Ball canon, none of them had to make the bottom of this list. There was a long, exhausting,
well, I mean, at least it made the list.
About whether or not it should be a saga from GT or Goku Black. I suggested the Shadow Dragon saga from GT for being such a brilliant concept, if done poorly, with what is debatably the best ending in all of Dragon Ball. And I was leaning a little more towards the Baby Saga, for being the only saga in GT that didn't make me want to pull an eternal sunshine of the spotless mind to forget the agony. But I can't lie. GT not making this list is a bittersweet victory. Emphasis on the bitter. The ending of the Goku Black saga is a mind-bogglingly depressing, gallingly nihilistic finale to an otherwise roller coaster of a story. While there are many hiccups leading into the last 2 episodes, it really felt like they were pulling out all the stops to give us a satisfactory, bombastic finish. Only for you to follow up that amazing climax with Rocks Drop, Everyone Dies on the entire universe, proving their actions were essentially all for naught, giving an entire timeline to a permanent state of null. And the light at the end of the tunnel for Trunks and Mai is immensely awkward, essentially having to live alongside the alternate versions of themselves in another timeline. And of course, the saga has a ton of other issues. Goku forgetting both the Senzu and the talisman for the Mappa, them having to return to the future not twice but 3 whole times, Trunks learning the Mafaba via Piccolo's YouTube tutorial video. It's a flawed, frustrating saga that admittedly dropped the ball in a big way, and not just once.
It's bananas.
So why, Kaiser? Why? Because, damn it, when it first started airing, it shocked the fandom. When it was revealed that our main antagonist was going to be an evil version of Goku, folks thought it was going to be the biggest shark jump of the franchise. But the first episode of the saga proper is one of the most effective and gripping in all of Dragon Ball. Scott's got a point about that first episode. The darker apocalyptic tone,
like the introduction to the Trunks saga and Super
by some of the best music in
was
Super at that point, makes Black's introduction
pretty cool.
special. In terms of setting up an intimidating villain, this saga is hard to beat.
But like the ending to this whole arc, or saga, I mean, was pretty like
the second time machine Cell used, the Mapaba, and the
I think it left me wanting more.
While I feel they mishandled the descent into madness on the behalf of Zamasu, that character was a fresh, new archetype for the series, with a twisted moral complexity that was missing from previous villains. It is also shocking that Goku Black as a character is largely effective. You'd think evil Goku would be boring and cliche, but it's undeniable that the performance from Masuko Nozawa actually enhances this character with her soft, cold, calculated speech. Honestly, by the virtue of being sub-only for so long, Super introduced Nozawa to a huge amount of dub-only fans who had undervalued her performance for years. And the art direction makes a point to emphasize Black's twisted nature, all the way down to his black and red teeth. Those toothy grins, narrowed eyes, and pompous poses give him a real presence that elevates him from a bad concept done well to a sincerely memorable villain with a lot of gravity. Too bad the story decides to fuse him into a more boring version of both of them. Though Merge Zamasu does have some brilliant moments visually, his character effectively loses everything that made him interesting, complex, and intimidating, turning him into just another pompous villain for Goku and the gang to put down. But guys, many of the fights in this saga are awesome. Some of the best Saga got in Dragon Ball up until that point happened in this saga. And this is seen all the way up until the climax, where Trunks whips out his plot sword and vertically bisects Merged Zamasu. There was so much hype, I remember cheering with friends while watching it. And then what, Kaiser? You know what, Lanny. We all do. Are we also going to ignore how it introduces a second Omni King because one wasn't enough? And also the weird love triangle stuff with my Trunks and Trunks? Listen, I know it's got its low points, but its highs are astronomical. For every moment where we groaned inside, there was another we cheered and lost our collective shit over. It's a mixed bag, no doubt about it, but I truly think it earns its spot at number 12 by introducing a complex antagonist, tackling some dark existential themes, making Goku Black an incredibly effective villain, and providing some of the best action Dragon Ball has seen up until that point. Fair enough. Still think the Shadow Dragons were way cooler. The Trunks and my stuff was a little weird though, right? A little?
Very. Right, 11?
And speaking
Pilaf.
of guys, what do all the people holding pitchforks and burning torches?
The introduction to the Dragon Ball.
That Pilaf made it this low
Pretty
on the
much.
countdown. This cannot be a surprise. Okay, Kaiser, go ahead. Be that fan. I assure you, I don't understand the connotation. The Pilaf Saga, or Hunt for the Dragon Ball Saga, is a fucking gem, and it's the closest thing Dragon Ball has to a flawless arc on this entire list. Hot off Toriyama's highly successful run of Dr. Slump, this is where it all began, with a story full of comedy, perverted antics, mystical adventure, and more comedy. Featuring a classic, colorful cast of characters, each chapter and episode is packed with charm and laughter. With each new character that we meet, and bigger hurdle that Goku overcomes,
It's crazy to think how much it's changed from this saga to like the end, or basically all the way to Super.
Simplicity, isn't there? Spanning only 23 chapters of the manga and 13 episodes of the anime, this is a comparably light read, all things considered, but it delivers heaps of jokes, fan service, and a delightfully straightforward story. The ending with the reveal of Goku's backstory involving Grandpa Gohan is still an emotional gut punch. Obviously, while this saga is near the bottom, it's certainly not because it does anything more wrong than the sagas above it. In fact, I'd be inclined to agree, this saga is generally harmless. But in that simplicity, it also doesn't quite reach the same highs as the other sagas aspire to. That just isn't what Toriyama was pursuing. He wanted something more in the vein of Dr. Slump meets Journey to the West, and by God,
Yeah, I
nailed it.
see.
But
I don't think
lack of
Toriyama
ambition in the
was,
story also keeps it
or
lower
he
on this
didn't
list.
have
Shout out to the Pilaf gang for somehow
a
managing
set
the main
path for
contestants in
this
the
series
all the way to
with the
super. Even
first
their own
saga
hair
yet.
was full of questionable
Because I
methods
think
and even more
the
questionable
popularity
ships.
started
It's also worth noting
building
that the
up
length of
like
this
when he
saga
started
doesn't do it many
focusing more
favors.
on the
It's one of the shortest on this list without any prior setup.
like on the martial arts, like the tournament and all that stuff.
Concepts, locations, etc. But that's also arguably to its benefit, keeping it short, briskly paced, with plenty of jokes per minute. Pilaf is low on our list, but this is the place where it all started. Where the concept of Dragon Balls were introduced. Where Bulma met Goku and shot him in the f***ing head. Where a transforming pig stole child lives. And Yamcha and Puar tried to mud them in the desert. Where a goblin boy, accompanied by an adult woman and a talking dog, tried to conquer the world, only to be thwarted by a 12-year-old hick. Where Goku would make a fateful lunch date with a silly lovesick girl who would one day become his wife. Where we first saw the Kamehameha, which kids would make a pastime mimicking in their backyards for decades to come. Where the magic began, almost 30 years ago, that still, miraculously, continues to this day. Sure, it's unambitious, but it's also heartfelt.
If you skip on Dragon Ball, you're missing out, guys.
This saga may not reflect what the series as a whole has to offer, but it's a perfectly paced, simple, enchanting story about a little monkey boy taking off a teenage girl's panties before she flashes a lecherous man old enough to be her grandfather. And that's a story we can all relate to. Real glad Goku learned to tell the difference between boys and girls before he was old enough for that to become a much more serious issue. Now I'm imagining adult Goku giving the old pat-pat to Vegeta when he first showed up. Or Beerus. You know he stared at Whis long enough to consider it.
Number 10.
Y'all ever think credibility is overrated? As our people don't tune into us for our credibility.
Is it the Tournament of Power arc?
And honestly, I'm surprised that this made it above Pilaf, considering that this saga may have some of the lowest lows in all of Dragon Ball Super. I mean, nothing can compare
I feel like out of like Super
managed to recover from what should have been
and all of its sagas, I feel like it was the most popular.
If I may, the Universe Survival Saga, often referred to as the Tournament of Power Saga, honestly contains a couple of my favorite moments from Dragon Ball in it. From the very beginning, we're treated to one of the best opening themes Dragon Ball has to offer, following up the worst opening theme song in Dragon Ball, Don't Shift Plus To Me, which honestly got me back into the gym. It's such a banger. And then there's the exhibition and recruitment arcs, which are included in this entry. Almost everyone's recruitment came with a moment from them to not only show off their skills, but also a character moment with Goku, aided by a couple of honestly amazing fights. And don't even get me started on Frieza. While the fandom's initial response to the replacement of Boo was rightfully exasperated and annoyed, Frieza subbing in may have been one of the best choices they could have made, both for the tournament and for the character.
That transformation by Frieza at Babbi's palace.
In the act of torturing and killing his opponents.
So great.
And though we get to see a little bit of that in the Resurrection arc, there's something about the way he's depicted here that sells his demented attitude so much more. His stunning transformation into Golden Frieza, his dismantling of the Universe 4 assassins, and the subsequent match afterwards are all amazing and perfectly set up the dynamic between Frieza and Universe 7 for the Tournament of Power. I remember the backlash over Boo being benched. The base went ballistic. But now, well, we can't imagine a TOP without Frieza. I also want to add, when Goku is shadow sparring on Uranai Baba's ring, he's actually recreating his fight, move for move, against his grandpa back during the Red Ribbon Army saga, which, as far as Easter eggs go, is pretty phenomenal. Then the actual tournament is all of hype moments. While it takes a fine bit for the fights to really warm up, the first time we see Goku tap into Ultra Instinct will forever stick in the minds of every Dragon Ball fan, especially with that music. It's just also huge, heartfelt callbacks and tributes to Dragon Ball throughout. One of the best finishing moves in the franchise against Kefla, and one of the biggest climactic battles in all of
Android
anime,
17.
with Frieza 17 and Goku versus Jiren. The Tournament of Power is one giant love letter to all of Dragon Ball. It spends so much of its time reminding us of everything that came before it, all the while bombarding us with a cavalcade of battles, new characters, and conflicts, being supported by an army of both veteran animators and fantastic newbies, all giving it their 100% to deliver a standout I have to be the heel, but watching this season week to week was a trial, and not in the, oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens next week, the suspense is killing me kind of way, but more the, what the hell was that? That's how they took out Tenshinhan? What do you mean it's only been 10 minutes in the tournament?
Piccolo, can I hear the little thing running around?
Took out Piccolo?
Yeah.
Jesus, the color palette on these backgrounds is ugly as sin. This boring pile of roided up Area 51 paraphernalia is our main antagonist? Sort of way. It was a slog for long time.
I mean, I did like Jiren, but
and while a narratively relevant callback or reference can help elevate a scene, I have to put my foot down over them breaking out Vegeta's sacrifice against Boo, only for it to not actually cost him his life. The entire point of that moment was that he was using all of his energy and giving his life in order to win. Without that element, it's literally just the same technique Piccolo used against Goku in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. No emotional weight, no sacrifice, just a cheap, insipid ploy on the behalf of the writers that left me more pissed than pumped. Let's not forget the use of Kachi Kachin, the hardest, most durable material in the universe, as the material for the ring, only for it to immediately break and shatter like any other material, effectively making it pointless and actually underselling the character's abilities. And don't even get us started on the pacing. We should have known 48 minutes was a ludicrous number, but to have approximately 34 episodes take place in one location over less than an hour? It's like they looked at Frieza's 5 minutes and said, hold my hijab, and this wouldn't be such a chore either if the environments felt varied or visually pleasing to look at, but like I said before, the Tournament of Power's stage and environment is often intensely ugly, to the point where the change in color to the sky was initially welcomed, until you realize that the color actually got worse. And like Mark said before, some of the eliminations in that tournament were downright disappointing. Tenshinhan's whole bullshit sacrifice is made all that much worse by his 2 appearances in the recruitment arc being absolute character assassination. And Piccolo is taken out by a character that he should literally be the best equipped for. And beyond that, while I love the Universe 6 Saiyans, their ascent in terms of power is so steep and unearned that it really makes you question.
I feel a tingle in your back. Turn Super Saiyan.
In a story about the struggle to grow and improve, watching these 3 effortlessly unlock huge, once character-defining transformations feels like a spin in the face of the story and its themes thus far. And there are plenty of controversial writing choices throughout. Between Blue Evolution, the time dilation regarding Goku's stamina recovery, a questionable amount of focus on Ribrianne, one of the worst Roshi scenes of all time, the no flying role being decried weekly, and if you're not a fan of the Ami King, well, good news! There's 2 of them now, and they will not shut the f*** up. And while those good animation days were much more common in this saga, the bad animation days made already lackluster fights that much worse. Coupled with a mixed bag of new characters that range from legitimately compelling to downright forgettable to please God stop showing up. I sometimes would find myself rooting for other universes to lose members faster just to get off this crazy carnival ride as fast as possible. And then there's Kill/Broly. Don't get me started. And what about Jiren? What about Jiren? Which I can only imagine is exactly what the writers said.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I value your input. I processed your opinions, and I mean, I agree. None of what you guys said is wrong, but I posit this. Though it may be true that there are issues all throughout this saga, isn't it amazing that they all still managed to accomplish so many show-stopping moments throughout? We never even talked about just how much of a boss Android 17 gets to be. The emotional highlight of Master nearly giving his life. The descent of Top into godhood. Or all the crazy variety of fighting styles. Hell, Kaiser, you madman. You even argued for Android 18 versus Ribrianne to be in the top fights list.
Well, duh. That climax is fire.
And Mark, I know the themes of trust that played heavily into the finale were a huge part of that saga for you.
It is definitely the highlight of the story, little as there was.
The Tournament of Power may be the farthest you could get from a perfect saga, but its introduction of Ultra Instinct, themes of trust, spectacular battles, insanely good music, and some of the best climaxes in the franchise absolutely earned it a high spot in my personal top 5.
Well, hey, I'm here to review, not young people's youngs. So I'm glad it means so much to you, man. And I could totally understand your argument.
And I yours.
Oh, look at you, acting all civil for the people at home.
Nah, if you really want to set them off, start a conversation about Nozawa as Goku.
You mean about how she's a phenomenal actress who earned the role and y'all need to back the fuck? No.
Spoilers for the next video. Excellent. So, there were the first 3, number 12, 11, and 10. I don't really have anything to say, like, as in an opinion against the positions that they've put there, or the entries. It kind of makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. The Future Trunks arc, I remember when that first came out, everybody was freaking out. They were so hyped about Trunks coming back, obviously, and then the idea of Goku being like a villain or like an evil version of him. And the beginning was good, but then it started getting crazy, like going back and forth through the timelines, and the character interactions that weren't necessarily that great. And then the ending was like below decent. I thought the ending would have been better. Yeah, like when they introduced a character that could potentially destroy the universe, and then using him as their last resort was, pointless. And then the Pilaf Saga, or the Hunt for the Dragon Ball Saga, which was the first thing in Dragon Ball anime. That saga was like the introduction to the characters, to the world, and like the whole concept of like Dragon Balls and stuff. But it wasn't necessarily like it wasn't necessarily like the main thing for Dragon Ball as a whole, because if you ask somebody about Dragon Ball, what it's about, most of the time they would say it's about like martial arts and fighting bad guys, adventures. I mean, this one did have adventures. I mean, it wasn't a terrible saga, but it wasn't like a good saga in terms of like what people's reactions were to it. And then at number 10 they had the survival arc saga, or the Tournament of Power saga. Yeah, I remember it turned out to be like the most popular saga of Dragon Ball Super, and although it did give us like awesome fight scenes, it also gave us like some characters that were pretty easy to forget. Like right now, I was trying to remember what the character from what universe was it? See, I forgot already. No, but yeah, the Brienne is the one, because I was watching it right now. I couldn't remember her name until they said it, and they're like, oh yeah, it's Brienne. And yeah, I wonder if we would have gotten more sagas if the other sagas of Super would have made this list. I'm not sure. I don't know where they would put the God of Destruction arc or Super Saiyan God arc saga, or where they would put the revival of Frieza saga, because I know that TeamFourStar does not necessarily like the Resurrection F movie, much less the saga. And also with the God of Destruction, Super Saiyan God saga is not as good as the movie of Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. I'm not sure. They might put it up there, maybe like top 10. I mean, I already know what's number 9, I see already here. Spoilers. As I predicted, they were not gonna be in their top 4. I wouldn't put it in my top 4 either. Yeah, so those were the first 3 entries for TeamFourStar's DBcember. I can't wait to see who they have in their top 5. It's gonna be wild. Can't wait to see the comments after I watch the whole thing. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, comment your thoughts. Where would you put the 3 entries that we saw right now? And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you guys later. Adios.